now we're recording in multiple places. So we'll have the audio here, which I'll be able to actually compare the audio on this recording versus the audio just out of the video from OBS as well. And I'm actually going to try to start editing the podcast and stuff so I can edit out this whole first section with the
Oh, good. So everybody doesn't need to see me eating all my kids' candy.
exactly.
That's
I
good.
mean, they can. Maybe we'll just have that as an extra.
I'm gonna sneak one more cat.
Watch Pat eat his kids' candy. All right, so we'll just start it off as usual. Hello, welcome to the other podcast. This is a uh, show where Pat and I get together and we chat, typically once a week. Thanks for joining us. And my name is Andre Davis. Warrior X apparently on my screen right now. Trying something new with a different recording setup, but we'll go with it. And this is Pat.
Whoa.
How goes it, sir? What's that?
It's going well. Just typical Thursday running all over the place, but that is done. I am ready to podcast, ready to record.
So one thing I noticed when you jumped on, and every time I see your screen name as Pat 1420 or something, your email somewhere in that, I know exactly what it means, but it can be uh, uh, potentially misconstrued as something completely else than what it is. So so why don't you explain your screen name?
1420 was my roll number in the rolls of Beta Theta Pi, our fraternity, where André and I were in college. It does uh, it does say like 1420, so yes, I guess that could be misconstrued as. I never made that connection before, but yeah.
Yeah, I have a juvenile mind, so anytime I see 420 in any combination, I'm like, oh, it's weed. It's got to be.
Yeah.
So I love that November has hit, and we finally get to see that stash in full glory.
Yeah, you can't see the full curl, and it's kind of droopy by now because I need to reapply some wax if I was really going to go for the full curl. But it's pretty good. Um, Definitely getting a lot of comments from the kids at school, so that's good. I'm immediately regretting though shaving. I haven't had like I think maybe a couple years ago I shaved once. I had like trimmed my beard super short, and I was just like, oh, so I shaved it off, and thought it'd be nice for my kids to see me without a beard for one time, which they hated. So, but yeah, I can't stand not having. Not that I can grow like a good beard, but it's just still to have something there
Yeah.
feels a lot better than this. And I don't like shaving every day, so I don't know how long just the mustache will last. I may end up going back to the short beard with a longer mustache or something, but we'll see.
Well, I think that now that the mustache is so prominent, like as you grow facial hair around it, it won't even
Right,
matter. Like it's not going to take
right,
away
right,
from the mustache,
right.
which
It's
is
not gonna, and I'll keep it short enough that it won't like blend in or anything. So,
nice.
yep.
So, are you the type that like has to play with your beard all the time? Do you miss that part
Oh
of it,
yeah.
or just the?
Oh, definitely. I would do this, especially if it got, any length to it at all. I'd sit there and play with it. Now what I'm doing is twirling my mustache all the time. Do that all day long. So,
It's pretty. It reminds me of like I don't know the characters, any specific characters, but well, I guess like in Clue, did Colonel Mustard have the twirly
yeah, yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah. We were saying yesterday, like an old timey strongman kind of thing. Like when it was really curled up, it kind of had that look going on. I was saying, oh, it should have been that for that would have been perfect for Halloween.
Say that would have been
Put like
awesome.
some muscles in, a little, you know,
Get a little
wetsuit
leotard
or
on.
something. But yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, leotard. That would have been really good. So,
Did you do anything for
anyway,
Halloween?
we just went out with the kids. It was kind of so Maddie's sort of aging out, and she's definitely aged out of like going with us. So she did her own thing with some neighbors. We took Rowan out, and it was very kind of we had this huge group of kids. It was probably like, I don't know, 10 kids in our group to start, and it felt like it just kind of growing. So we ended up with like, maybe 12 or 15 kids, and then all the parents with them. And then at one point, you could see our group coming down the street, and then coming down this side street was like this other group, and they just kind of came in and then merged together. And then it was like this mob of like 30 kids going from house to house together with all these parents. And it got to the point though where it was like too chaotic, and like you couldn't even find your kid because there were just so many kids running around. And so we're kind of like, it's a little bit much. And then Rowan ended up not feeling well, so we ducked out a little early. But at that point we were like, we've had enough. We'd been out for over an hour or so, and maybe an hour and a half, and we were done at that point. And we always do adult Halloween as well. So we bring, we have a nice hot toddy, or I think André had Irish coffees this year, and we make the rounds with those. So
nice.
But it is kind of funny because you can kind of see the different like some parents in the group would come with some type of beverage, and other parents would not have anything. So it was sort of like, kind of feeling out like, oh yeah, you're the ones we'd probably hang out with, and no, we might not hang out with you, but we'll see.
It's a good way to suss out that crowd.
Yeah, you guys your boys are in high school. They're probably too old for trick or treating at this point.
Yeah, they don't trick or treat. And I wouldn't say that it's because they're too old. Like, because we had high schoolers coming to our door throughout the night.
Yeah.
They're just not into it. Actually, Dominic went out. Riley stayed downstairs and played video games all night long, which was a typical night. And then Dominic, actually, he was playing video games for a while, and then I think got in touch with one of his friends who lives down the street, and went over and grabbed some candy over there, and they ended up doing rounds around the neighborhood anyway. He went out in his comfy, those had on his comfy, and he was barefoot. Like, we're great parents. We didn't even notice. What's that? I'm a blanket.
He was a blanket. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was barefoot. He no socks, no shoes. We're great parents. We didn't notice him leave the house with no socks or shoes, and came back, and it's like, oh yeah, he's barefoot. So apparently the weather was fine for trick or treating if my son was running around barefoot.
Do you guys get many trick or treaters at your house?
I feel like we got more than we usually do, or maybe it was about the same. It was an appropriate amount for the amount of candy that we got. So we only had we gave out the big bars, and so we only got like a pretty decent sized box of that variety, and we actually got a big box of like goldfish to give out once the candy was gone, but we didn't even tap into the goldfish, and we had maybe 2 or 3 candy pieces left by the end of the night. So
what kind of candy did you give out?
Snickers,
Okay,
M&Ms,
favorite.
and I feel like there was another one in there. It was like a variety pack of the big Hershey's or whatever the brand is, Mars, whatever it is.
Like a solid choice though. Now, are you a candy person?
I am not a candy person until it's put in front of me. So like there was one Snickers left over, and I was, the next day I looked at it. It was like, ooh, I should eat that Snickers, but I'm gonna let somebody take care of it. Nobody did, and it just got to like that craving point where I gotta eat the Snickers, and ate it. So I love it when I have it, but I don't typically. I don't really crave it unless I see it. So I'm a sucker for the checkout lines. Like I get caught in the grocery checkout lines all the time. Like,
really?
If I'm waiting, I'm like, ooh, a Butterfinger sounds really good right now for whatever reason. Or Reese's
Yeah.
peanut butter cups, another one of my all time go tos.
You tend to go for the chocolatey things versus like the Starburst and the Skittles and that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm not. I don't like chewing on things for a long time. Um,
Yeah.
which is like every now and again, it's not bad. Like I'm like an old lady. I've got like hard candies in that bowl behind me, and it's like butterscotch and fruit flavored ones, and like
Yeah.
every now and again, I'll have the craving for to just put something in my mouth, which sounds weird, but so I'll just like suck on one of those for a little bit, and like as rarely as I have it, it's so satisfying. Like to have butterscotch for the first time in months or something. And just, I remember when the last times I had it, it was just like ecstasy almost. Put it in my mouth. So good, so
Like
good.
a Werther's original, like yeah, I
Mm.
love it. I never have them, but those are yeah.
I haven't had a Werther's in a real long time. That sounds delicious right
Now
now.
you're gonna want.
I am. Actually, I was reminded when I went down to visit my dad. Uh, Probably my favorite candy is that's not chocolate. And I like it even more than chocolate. Are the orange slices? You know
Oh
those?
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are so good. And my dad's the same way apparently. Like we went down, we were at someplace, and they had like this little candy store type thing there. And he's like, "You want some candy?" And he's like buying the orange slices for himself. I was like, at first I was like, no, and then I saw him grab the orange slices. I was like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I definitely want some orange slices. Just we're sitting there chowing them down. So good. And then when I came back home, I ended up going to the dollar store and buying another big bag of them. I had to say that was it though, like because I plowed through that bag way too fast. It's
Yeah.
not good for me.
It's like me with the Halloween candy. Like I'm still going strong with it, but I'm gonna hit my point where I'm just totally just disgusted by it, and then that will hold me for the rest of the. I won't touch candy for the rest of the year. But
What's your go to grab from the candy?
I think I've eaten all the Snickers at this point. I've eaten. I really like the what is it? The 100 grand. Is that what they are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've eaten all those. Those are Milky Ways. That's pretty much my thing. I'm strictly a chocolate person.
Yeah, you don't like the Starburst or the Skittles or anything.
Oh, no, no, no. That's I mean that's basically what's left. That and peanut butter cups seem to be pretty unpopular this year. So
Peanut
yeah,
butter.
send them your way.
I was gonna say, bring them over here. We're actually my whole family is a big peanut butter cup fan in general, so I like
What
the.
else is new with you besides Halloween stuff?
Uh, I've I've been like really. I was just talking to my intimacy coach earlier today, and I've come to the realization I have been like super overwhelmed, and like I don't even know with what. It's just that general feeling of there's just so much. I don't know if it has to do with COVID and the fatigue that kind of like goes along with it, and like that level of energy, but this I don't know. Past couple days have just been a big rut of ugh.
What kind of stuff? So what kind of stuff are your triggers for that? Like what kind of gets to you when you're? Is it work? Is it family? Is it? Are there certain things that really get you?
Um, I I would say work is an easy answer, um, but it's not like the things that trigger me at work aren't things that like I have a lot of stuff to do or anything like that. It's more of when I get asked to do things that are really pretty simple to do and but they don't add any real value to anything. Like when
Yeah.
I get asked to do stupid stuff um, that we've done several times before, and it's kind of like, why are we keep doing this? Like this is a waste of my time and a waste of the company's time to even keep investing in this type of thing. So I get that's the type of stuff that overwhelms me at work and gets me stressed out. Typically, otherwise though, with work stuff, it's kind of like whatever. I allocate my time appropriately. So, and then family stuff doesn't really get to me. as far as overall, my family's pretty laid back, and um, I don't really get hit with any like stress things. The biggest things that, but they don't really lay on me so much the way that I parent. Um, like Riley's way behind in his homework. Like we found out he's basically failing all his classes, and but it's been up to this point questions of, hey, do you have this caught up? Do you have homework? And you always get the yes, yeah, yeah, and I'm not. We're not gonna like look over his shoulder. We'll just take him at face value. Yeah, okay, fine, he's doing great. And then you get a call saying that, oh, we need to do a special meeting, parent meeting, because your child is failing every class. So it's like, so right now we've been, hitting him, not hitting him, but like getting on him a little bit.
To be very clear.
um, Getting on him, making sure that he's, we'll have him sit down at the dining room table now to do his schoolwork and, do that planning thing. Like, all right, what do you have for assignments, and go through. But I mean, that I guess that kind of stuff probably does build into that overwhelming feeling, but it's not anything that I think of like right on. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, I don't tend to really identify those triggers. Like, it was interesting when you asked that, like, what triggers that overwhelming? Like, I have to really think about, all right, well, what is doing that? But I rarely ever do that. I just kind of let it hit me, and
Yeah. So just sort of a general feeling of feeling kind of overwhelmed, and you can't always really, it's not like you're constantly thinking about certain things that are triggering it. It's just that kind of overwhelmed feeling.
yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I could think about, or that I do think about in general. And when I'm not feeling overwhelmed, it's kind of fun to like play with ideas and stuff in the head, and kind of express things. But when I am feeling overwhelmed and I have like some sort of obligation, whether it's a perceived obligation uh, or an actual obligation, that's when it becomes not fun, because it's kind of like, all right, I want to kind of go do this, or do I really want to do this? I start trying to put things in priority. I don't like prioritizing things, I guess. That probably is what it has a lot to do with it. I don't really like to prioritize. And when I have to prioritize, I don't like being put in that box.
So what I'm hearing is having an obligation to meet with me on Thursday nights is overwhelming you right now, and it's something you don't want to do, right?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. No, actually, I really enjoy, like, podcasting is like doing these recordings and talking with you, and talking with whoever. I enjoy doing that. Like, the overwhelming part of it for me was when we were doing the guests. Like, we had the guests on and stuff. And I prefer, right? I much prefer like when it's just me and you, because we can just talk and chill and whatever. But when and it's my own fault. Like, I was inviting people on for these things, and it was kind of like, I don't know. It turned it into more work than I wanted it to be in the moment. But I also enjoy the conversations. Like, it's not that that I dislike the conversations we have with the guests. It's that whole anticipating, or setting up.
It becomes much more of a thing when you have like a person on, and it's like, you know, we're having somebody on, it's got to start right on time. It's got to be like, I know I have this conversation, so I got to think about what I'm going to talk to them about. It just becomes more of a thing. But I definitely get what you're saying. Like, it's really neat having these people on, meeting these people that are very different from me, and being able to talk to them about what they're doing. I've really appreciated that, but it does make a sort of a different feel for, even leading into it or during it. It definitely feels not as laid back as, like tonight, where we're just talking and it can go anywhere and it doesn't really matter. And
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Like, you just said the laid back thing. Like, when we had Dan Jackson on, like, that was one of his comments was, like, how laid back it was. Like, and it's for I guess from his perspective, and I've
Yeah.
watched and listened to podcasts with other people's guests, where people are guests on other shows and stuff, and I think the difference between how we interact with the guests and the difference between how other people interact with the guests, there certainly is a more laid back feel. Like we're we're not polished at all, and it truly is a conversation where we're just hey, ask some questions and stuff and see where it goes type thing. Versus I've seen the more polished and
Yeah.
podcasts where they've you can tell there's a scripted
Right.
questions that go out and there's
Yeah.
been some preparation and which is fine, but that's just not what I want to do personally. Like
I know ours is just about getting to know different people and see what they're doing. And I think there are times where I honestly didn't even know who we were having on until the day out. You know what I mean? Like so
yeah,
there was very like you said very little prep, but that also kind of makes it in some ways more of an like authentic conversation versus you know uh, uh, like a news type of interview kind of thing. So yeah,
yeah. I mean because I also want to respect the guests in the sense of their time and what their intent is. Like I
yeah.
obviously want to give them their opportunity to promote whatever they're promoting and stuff. And
Oh, of
I
course, yeah.
certainly I think we've done a good job of opening up that window and
Right.
focusing on those things that come through.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's outside of that obligation. I think we do a pretty good job of just hanging out. I like to think of it as sitting down in the beta basement at
Yep.
midnight with, although we don't have beers or anything, but
I think we have done some. What did Bubba have? Was that Scotch or whiskey or something? We've
yeah,
done that.
yeah, that one
Some
got
whiskey.
loose.
Yeah, that was a different episode.
We'll have to have another one of those sometime though. That was actually pretty fun.
Absolutely. I think that's something we should do too. Is bring on. I mean, certainly have Bubba back. That was a fun conversation. But just bring on like you know people from college or high school. We could do like high school reunion podcast
Yeah,
episode and just have somebody random. We talked about like we were talking about like Kate Hobber once and how you'd run into her. It's like, yeah, let's have her on and let's talk about we should
yeah.
we should look into doing that.
I was actually just thinking
We
about
should look into that. I mean, you should probably look into that because I don't
that
really
is
have any connection
something I
to
should
anybody.
plan. I will. You know what? Maybe we can plot that out. That's probably what would make it a lot easier for me too if I actually wrote stuff down and like plotted it instead of just keeping it in my head. Like it makes it.
Well, and admittedly, you are pulling all the weight behind the scenes with this. I have not contacted any guests or done anything with recording or editing or promoting or anything. So all I do is I show up here at 6 o'clock on Thursday and then talk for a while. You do all the other stuff. So it's really your thing, and I just tag along with you. But
I
this
appreciate
probably
it.
doesn't help you overwhelm things.
It helps me greatly because if I mean you heard my Casante Corner podcast, those things just go in this random weird direction that I don't think the world's ready for yet.
Those were great though, because they were just like a lot of times it was just you walking around and recording yourself talking, and that was I appreciated that. I listened to I think all of those. I'm probably one of a small number who have listened to all of those, but yeah.
Speaking of, and this is a very good segue because you had mentioned you're going to be playing D&D tomorrow night.
The first time, yes.
Very
Well, and it's
nice.
kind of funny too. Like you're talking about feeling overwhelmed, and I was thinking like I'm not feeling super overwhelmed, but like last night I don't think I slept at all because all I was thinking about was D&D and what character am I going to be and what's my backstory and what's going to be like playing because I've never played D&D. All I have seen is I haven't even what I was thinking today is I should look online and see if there are videos of people playing so I can see kind of
Oh yeah.
what it looks and feels like. But like honestly, all I've seen is what's in movies and TV. Stranger Things or something where they've done some of that. So, but yeah, I've been trying to think about my character and the backstory and just what to expect when I go.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, there are tons of videos and stuff that and they have podcasts of like live play
yeah,
or D&D where they'll go through, which interesting about that. I don't know the group of people that you're playing with or anything like that, but um, it's kind of funny because I'll listen to some of those like podcasts here and there that I've heard that are they're pretty funny, um, and the people that are doing it for an entertainment purpose. So
right.
it's interesting. You like hear those and stuff, and then depending on the group of people you're playing with, it is far less entertaining in that aspect. Like the role playing has is died
Yeah,
down significantly and all that stuff.
right.
Um, and there's almost this kind of, am I doing it right? Like, are we playing this right? Like, I feel like
Right.
it's a whole other level. But again, the people that are doing those podcasts are typically entertainers of some sort anyway, and are putting
My
on a show for others. So you've
my neighbor
never
came
played at
over.
all?
I've never played at all. My neighbor came over, and so he's invited me to his group. He has a group that he plays, I think, every other week. And so he invited me to come, and so he met with me to start working on a character the other night. We were filling out the character sheet or whatever. And he did mention that there was this guy that had come with his daughter, I think back when they, a while ago when they first started it. His daughter still plays, but he came and he came like 2 weeks. Then he kind of saw all the role playing they were doing, and then was kind of they never saw him again. So that made me think there's definitely some role playing that's going to be involved in this group, which is will be very interesting. That's not necessarily my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be interesting anyway. I tend to be a little bit. I've talked about how a little social anxiety and stuff. So getting jumping into a character and it's going to be kind of interesting. But
Oh, that sounds like it'll be fun. Like the group that I play with, we there's typically not a whole lot of role playing that goes on um, outside of like when I've played and the characters that I've made, um, or I try to separate myself from the character in the sense
uh,
of what would my character do versus what would I do if I were in this situation, which is tough to do sometimes for sure. But it's also it's fun when I can when I get. It took me a couple sessions to get comfortable with the group and stuff and kind of making those. But I'm not like doing voices or anything like that. But just like making those decisions and
yeah,
having that separation to kind of let it be known like, hey, this isn't me. This isn't what I would do. I would not stick my finger in this hole, but I feel like Van
right,
Fear would stick this finger in this hole here. And
yeah,
spoiler alert, I lost a finger. Uh,
yeah. Right. You're four-fingered. What are you again? What's your current character?
I am a Goliath Ranger.
Goliath Ranger. Ooh, that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
He his name is Van Fear, and his whole village was killed by an undead outbreak. He was the last survivor, and it was a mountain, secluded mountain village. And since then, he's been on the hunt for undead and stuff. He hates the undead, which I haven't really been
Okay.
able to build out that backstory much in our campaign, which is fine because it gets more complicated if I have to start dealing with that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But it's good to know that that's who I am. So you started creating your character, or did you complete your character?
Well, yeah. So I think I'm going to go with a rogue, um, because I mentioned that I've played Gloomhaven. I had a Gloomhaven group for a while, and I know they're very different games, but they kind of similar types of characters and very different mechanics. But I like the rogue sort of fighting style where it's like either sneak up on people and stab them in the back, or get in quickly and do something and then run away. That's sort of my preferred fighting style. So I want to go with the rogue. The issue I'm having is trying to come up with like a backstory that sort of matches the characters that the mechanics I want to have when I'm playing, because I really like there's a swashbuckler rogue
Mm-hmm.
that's really like a good melee fighter for a rogue, and that really interests me. he's also supposed to be this very charismatic, or she, whatever, charismatic character, kind of like a pirate, or like Robin Hood or Zorro or something like that, which is not necessarily my personality and way of doing things. So I'm trying to figure out how I can, I don't know, adjust that. I also want to kind of stay away from, I don't want to be too traditional in that, like, brooding, loner, by myself, everybody I know, I don't know, sad story kind of guy. So I'm trying to figure it out, exactly what I'm going to do with it. But
What? So one of the things. What was that?
I was just going to say, and what you kind of mentioned was interesting about not wanting to make it too much about your personality. So like, I was thinking, Swashbuckler is definitely not the kind of natural fit with my personality, but that might not be the worst thing in the world at the same time, because it would force me to be a little more vocal than I might normally be or whatever in that situation. So that might be a good thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, really, it gives you an opportunity to just. I mean, it's play. It's a game.
Yeah, no, have fun with it.
Yeah. One of the things that somebody had said a couple weeks ago in our game, which was a pretty cool guide, I guess, if you're not comfortable with really exploring characters and stuff and acting things. They had said, I was just kind of thinking of cool things that I've seen in movies, like if and applying those to the situations. I was like, oh, that's a really good idea, actually. Like, if there's a boulder coming at you or whatever, like, all right, well, what did Indiana Jones do? I'll just mimic that and try to like do that, or what would I have liked to have seen Indiana Jones do instead? That would have been way cooler than that. So
Mine would be, what would be the exact opposite of what I would do in that situation? That's probably the guide I will use. Mine would probably be, I would just find a corner to hide in and crawl up in, and you can see me frozen. I think about, like, were you with us when we went paintballing once with all the guys in college? It was like a huge.
Yeah, was Gandhi there?
I have no idea. There was like a huge group of us that went.
Yeah. I definitely went. Well, I definitely went paintballing with people once. No, you know what?
Probably the same. No, you don't think you did?
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
I don't know. I would have expected if I was there, you'd be there. But anyway, when I went paintballing that time, I realized that in any sort of combat, I would be absolutely terrible, because even in paintball, I just like sat in one spot and was too paranoid to like get up and move. So, yeah, I don't think. Like I said, I'm just going to go with the opposite of whatever my natural instincts are in any of these kind of situations, and hope that works for my character.
Well, you'll know that you're not going to go ahead and get physically hurt. I don't know the type of game you're playing. Maybe you.
Oh, I don't know if they get really into the role playing. Maybe.
So, do you know? Have you learned anything about the rules and the mechanics and all that stuff yet?
Not really, no.
I brought out some of the stuff just to show you here what you got to work with. So you got your character sheet already, right?
I have my character sheet, yes.
Yeah.
Started that, though.
What I will give you my advice on the character sheet and like trying to sort this stuff out, because you end up like writing down a whole bunch of stuff, and what I ended up doing actually was I just took a notebook and kind of made a block of like the important stats to keep track of, like, so for the rolls and stuff. So here I've got like 14,000 weapons. That's an exaggeration, but I've got a bunch of weapons, and I'm typically only using 2 of the weapons. So I don't even know why I have all of these. Like, I have them all marked down and stuff. So like in a little notebook off to the side, I just write down the 2 weapons that I have. And now I kind of remember what those stats are. But when I was first getting used to it and getting comfortable, I'd have to constantly reference, and trying to find it in this list was a big old mess. So that's tip number 1. Highly recommend just getting little crib notes and stuff. And if you have spells, I don't know if your rogue would have any spells or
I
anything
will
like
not
that.
have spells. I'm not a magic kind of fighter.
Or activities or actions that come with your character. Put those there too, because I know there was several times where, depending on who your DM is and like how you guys are playing, like nobody's really gonna remember your stuff unless, except for you. So like there are some, like I've got this one thing on mine that's I think it's Stone's Endurance, and I can use it once every long rest, and
Yep.
so and basically it essentially like halves the damage I have, or it doesn't half it, but it reduces the damage I take significantly. But if I'm in the middle of combat or something and I'm not, thinking about that, forefront of mind or whatever like that, and I don't use it, and I could have used it, and I've just kind of wasted an opportunity. So if I have it like written on that little, when I was really trying to remember and get used to it all, having it like right there to say, all right, what can I do? Yes, I can do this right here. So.
And then the same thing actually would happen to me with Gloomhaven, where it'd be certain like abilities, or special abilities, or something I'd have, and I would totally forget about them at times. So I had to make like little. I think I'd like literally had Post-it notes that I'd put next to my stuff to remind me about certain things because I'd forget. So yeah, I'll do something like that. I'm gonna get one of the things. So I have to do obviously a cram session on like just the general mechanics of the game and stuff. But tonight I'm also gonna make a big list of some of my favorite like book characters and all the insults they use, so that if I do play the swashbuckler, I'll have all, because one of his things is he's supposed to like basically goad people into fighting duels with him all the time. So I'm gonna have all this list of insults, so I don't have to like think of them off the top of my head. I can just be like, "Oh, you arsling," or whatever I want to call them. So
Do you don't happen to have the Snap book, do you? Do you remember that?
snap. Oh yeah, the whole yes. That'd be a good backstory. I could be like, I am a character who just tells like your mama jokes to people to insult them. That'd be pretty good.
I remember Lutz had that book, and I'd
Uh,
go. We read that thing front to back so many times. I can't remember any of them really, but
Seriously, I kind of like that idea of writing, just looking up all those old Snap things and writing them all down and using them. That's pretty good. He's like the most annoying like swashbuckler ever.
I
They just
like that
roll their
approach.
eyes and-
That's a good idea, writing down those insults, because when trying to like figure out if you've got a character that is supposed to be a certain way, charismatic or whatever it is, if you're not that type of person, like trying to think of like those types of
In the
things,
moment. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
why not have a cheat sheet?
Yeah, there we go.
So do you think? Do you have an expectation that your D&D character is going to bleed into your real life somewhere along the line? You're not going to be able
Maybe I'll
to.
just start. I'll just start throwing out insults next week when I come on. Oh, we're not doing it next week, but next time I come on here, I'll just start throwing some of my jokes at you, trying to goad you into fights. Say,
The rudest thing ever. When we finally
right,
do it,
go ahead.
I was going to say when we finally do it in person again, I've changed up the studio a bit. So I moved the desk over here. So
Okay. Yeah.
we're not going to be able to like block our knees anymore. But I was thinking, because I'd really like to have like a small couch or something to sit on, but I don't have really
I
the
think you should
desire. What's that?
get one armchair and we'll just share it. We'll sit
Ooh.
really close to each other.
That's a great idea. We can switch off who sits in whose lap.
Ooh, we could name our podcast. We could change the name to Uncomfortably Close. It's the Uncomfortably Close podcast, and then I could be like, come get uncomfortably close with Pat and Andre. Great.
It's like,
Could
that'd be
make so
the
like if we have guests on, they could just sit on our lap on the chair. That'd be really good.
it'd be
Their
the
legs would be
most
going over one arm and then just resting like that. I think it'd be great.
sprawled out. I was actually
You
thinking, because I don't want to like bring up any furniture, just because I don't want to carry up furniture. But I was thinking about getting a couple those little folding chairs and putting those up instead of the stools, which might be a little bit more comfortable.
you can just have Andrew and I come over and move the furniture. Do you remember when we moved your house down the street, like from one house to
Yeah,
the other house? Yeah, that was fun.
there's a
That was definitely the most unique moving experience I think I've ever had.
certainly the easiest move I've ever done. Like, uh,
There's sort of, but like you had to bring stuff down, and there was no truck because obviously it was just moving down a few houses. So you just literally carried furniture down the road. You actually probably had to carry stuff further than you would have if you were putting it
oh,
on a truck, driving it, and taking it off.
that's a good point. The whole actual like path traveled with furniture or
Yeah, probably
with
longer. Now it was
stuff.
quicker because we didn't have to worry about the truck and driving anywhere. But
I I I distinctly remember moving stuff using a wheelie rolling chair as like a cart to carry stuff through. So and there's another house for sale just down the street that just went up on the sign just went up today. But that one's I was looking at it, I was like, ooh, we could move again, just like
you
right
move
down
into
the
that. Well,
street.
do you still have that wheelie chair? We'll just wheel everything down there.
Yeah, this one's even bigger, I think. So
Good. Fewer trips. That'd be perfect.
perfect. I was looking at I was looking at the listing for it. Somebody had posted it on Facebook, and it's like $500,000 house. It's like, I think it's $427,000. It's like, geez,
Yeah.
that's madness.
No,
But
isn't that crazy? It's absolutely insane.
I'm interested to see what the value of my house is, but at the same time, I'm scared to see what the value of my house is.
Yeah.
That
Well, I
disappointment.
can guarantee it's higher than when you bought it, so
Yeah, yeah, I got that going.
you're not underwater with it. But
That house has one more bedroom than ours, and
how many bedrooms is it? 4, 5?
that house,
Yeah.
that oh, you know what? We have four bedrooms.
I was
My
gonna say,
bad.
don't you? I thought you had 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking I had three bedrooms. I just like
The room you're in right now, does that count as a bedroom?
yeah. So there's this room, and then the room on the other side of the bathroom, and then the two across the hall. But we don't, and that has two baths. We only have one and a half bath, and I don't know what their basement's looking
Is
like.
that because you have the one in the basement? You
Yeah,
don't have one
we
down?
just got the toilet in the basement. Yeah, which I'd like to get we used to have a sink set up down there too, but we took that apart because I think it was leaking or something like that. And I rather than fix it, I was like, you know what? No, we're just
Yeah, get rid of it.
the sink is done. It's disconnected the pipes and called it good. But now that Dominic's been living down there, it would be nice to have that back up and going. But
We looked at a house when we looked at some terrible houses when we bought our house, and one of them they had a bathroom downstairs. It was off their dining room. The sink for it was in the dining room, so like on the wall of their dining room was just sitting there like a sink, and so you'd go and use the bathroom, you'd have to come out and wash your hands. So it's like if you're having a dinner party and somebody needs to use the bathroom, they're gonna like go to the bathroom, come out and wash their hands while everybody else is like, I don't know, it's very strange.
it's kind of
Not
like
so bad houses.
it reminds me of, and I don't know why. It used to bother me a lot. It doesn't really bother me anymore. But there's bathrooms in restaurants and stuff where it's like there's the toilets, and then you go out and there's the row of sinks for everybody.
Starting to do schools that way because the shift for schools, like newer schools that are being built, not all of them, like Rowan School was recently built, and that still has the traditional big, bathrooms, multi-stall bathrooms or whatever. But a lot of the schools are now going to single-stall bathrooms because it solves a lot, or it's just like one bathroom, and it can be for boys or girls. and they'll have like six of them next to each other because it solves a lot of issues with kids fooling around in the bathrooms and stuff. A lot of the stuff that was gender, which bathroom should people of different genders use and things like that. But they do the same thing where they'll have a community sink, big community sink outside of it, and then like six different individual bathrooms. So
I think they should put up cameras at those sinks now so you can see which kids are washing their hands and which kids are not washing.
yeah,
Just really shame them.
that was one of my favorite jobs. So we do have cameras outside of every bathroom. They don't look into the bathroom at all, but it shows who's going in and out. And so you'd be shocked at the number of kids that do absolutely disgusting things in bathrooms, like feces all over the wall, or and then of course writing graffiti and stuff like that. So one of my jobs was always to look at the video footage and try to narrow down, and it would be hard because it would be a few different incidents over the course of a few weeks. So you have to look at all the footage and try to figure out who it is. And our video cameras are so cheap that unless you look at it that day, and then I'd have to run around every classroom and match up the clothes because the pictures were too blurry to see faces. So I'd spend so much time doing bathroom stuff.
I never even really thought of it because you think of a camera solves it. You can see what's going on, but if the camera's not of good quality where you can see the face or whatever and match it up.
It always put a lot of pressure on you because it was like you have 2 hours left in the school day to solve this crime, and you've got to run around trying to figure it out because once they go home and the clothes are all changed, you have no idea who it was. So
that's a pretty exciting addition to the job, I would suppose. How do you I feel like if you ever get done with the education career, you could easily go into law enforcement with that background.
Yes, my background.
It's on your
the
resume.
other thing you would do is, so kids would be going in and out of the bathrooms all the time, and so you would never know exactly when something happened, but you kind of narrow it down to a certain amount of time. So I'd try to make a list of all the kids that were going in and out of the bathroom within the last hour or whatever. And so then I'd have to go to each kid and be like, okay, did you see, FU smeared in poop on the wall? No. Did you see it? No. And you keep going, and at some point one kid would be like, yes, I did. So then you knew it was either the kid that said yes, I did, or the kid right before him that said they didn't, and it's those two. And then that's when you start putting the pressure, all right, so we're gonna have to bring your parents in, and it'd be like, okay, I did it, and they'd be like, okay, figure it out. So that was my other big strategy.
Did you ever have them just hold out their hands to smell?
Yeah. Hold them up. Yeah, kids do a lot of disgusting things in those bathrooms.
Yeah, it's having kids, and my kids have, to my knowledge, have never done really disgusting things in the bathroom like that on purpose. But having kids and seeing them go through teenage years and all that stuff, and whether it be them or their friends when they're over, and smelling the smells and seeing the environments they choose to live in and all this stuff, I always would think back and was I like this? And for all of those girls that I liked and stuff, were they like this at home? I only saw this.
I don't think we were that bad.
What's that?
I don't think we were that bad.
I like to think we were pretty perfect.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anybody, just with messy rooms, for example, food in rooms and trash in rooms and all that stuff. I don't recall myself ever even really, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in my bedroom, which that might be a huge difference too, because I was usually going over to somebody else's place or hanging out outside of my room. I didn't have anything to keep me in my room, where kids now have their phones or computers. And
I don't even know if I ever went into your bedroom.
Probably not.
No, I literally don't think I ever saw your bedroom at your house when we were in high school.
It was pretty amazing.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, there was it was black and white wallpaper, like little stripes, and then on the top border there was it was either music notes or instruments, or it might have been both. I didn't design the room that way. The girl who lived in the room before me did, but I liked it. It matched my vibe. But I don't think I would have chosen those things.
I think I went to the like the not the top floor, but like the main floor of your house, maybe five. I could probably count on one hand how many times I was on that level, and then all the other times were in the little tiny room next to the garage,
Yeah,
downstairs room. Yeah,
the family
it's
room.
really funny. I've done that before.
Yeah, I think most of the time that we hung out though, I was over at your place.
Oh,
Like
you like lived at my house for quite a while. I think you ate dinner at my house every night for a good long while.
some good dinners. I appreciate the Conley family for.
I mean, it got to the point where I think my family just assumed you were going to be there for dinner every night, so that was fun.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't. And your place was pretty clean typically. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was not like disgusting in my room. I think my
Jared's
parents would
place.
have let me.
I feel like Jared's like how you described never seeing my room or anything like that. Like that's how I thought about Jared's place. Like
Never saw his room. Sorry, I gotta let the dog out.
yeah, I saw his room like it was a handful of times, and I remember like one of the first times seeing it, it was just like I'm making it up to the third floor or whatever, the second floor or whatever. It's like this is so
We didn't.
cool.
I don't feel like we hung out at Jared's house too much, though.
No, we
I
did.
I did growing up, but by the time we hit high school, I don't feel like we hung out there a whole lot.
Yeah, I feel like going there was kind of like in and out, like senior year around there. I remember spending more time there, but mostly it was just kind of like an in and out type thing. And then in college, we may have hung out there a few times, usually in the summer for
Yeah.
like his pool and sort of hanging out there. But
Made some good videos at Jared's house, though.
yes, he had the woods, he had the great scenery.
Were you part of the physics video we made?
No,
We did. That was a great. That's one of those ones though where, in hindsight, I feel really terrible about it. But at the time, it was probably also one of our best made videos. We did the physics of Townie. Do you remember Mr.
yeah,
Townsend? How Mr. Marlin was always making fun of him and calling him Townie and all his. Did you have Mr. Marlin?
uh, just before he went to like had his medical leave and ended up with a
Oh, okay.
substitute for the rest of the time, Mrs. Libby.
So he used to do like all his word problems were about Mr. Townsend and kind of making fun of him, and he called him Townie and stuff. And so we had to do a big physics project at the end of the year, and we did the physics of Townie. And so, sorry, let the dog in now. So we did, all these different things. Like we did something about Mr. Townsend running up the stairs and doing horsepower or something. And so like I was dressed up in we got like the biggest clothes we could find at Goodwill and stuffed them with pillows and stuff. So I'd like run up the stairs and stop and have to like breathe heavily and stuff like that. And then, but I remember the climax of the video had to do with jumping off a diving board and doing, like the angle and all that. And so I jumped off the diving board in the Townie suit into Jared's pool, and I hit the water. I just floated, like, because I had so many pillows and stuff stuck to my clothes. I just stood like flat on top, didn't go under the water at all. And then once they started absorbing, they became so heavy that I couldn't get out of the pool. Like I was trying to go up and climb out of the pool, and I couldn't do it. And I was thinking it's probably a really bad. Like I'm lucky I didn't drown or something with hundreds of pounds of wet pillows holding me down. But it was a pretty good video. But then I felt really bad looking back on it. Like you probably shouldn't have made fun of Mr. Townsend like that. That was probably not okay. But
He was the butt of probably a lot of jokes like that in projects, especially. I can't imagine.
I'm sure he was. But then I kind of felt bad for adding to that. Hopefully he was like a willing participant in that
Right.
And
Yeah,
he
I'm
was
not
keeping.
saying what you did was right, Pat. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really the as you were saying that with the pillows and stuff, and immediately when you said when you hit the water and we're floating there for a little bit, I was like, well, that's gotta get heavy,
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, it got. And it was funny too because it kind of looked like I was like trying to be Shamu, like jumping up on the side of the pool or something. But I really just could not get out of the pool. I was like trapped in there.
I was really
And I'm
trying to
pretty sure
save
we
my
had like
life.
duct taped the pillows to me to keep them in place. So it's not like I could have just like yanked them off and been like, okay, I'm free. So
That would have been a horrible tragedy. Like,
yeah. Yeah, could you imagine? That would have been really, really terrible.
Westbrook student dies filming a video making fun of a teacher.
Yeah. And but the video was really funny, so
Yes.
it's all good.
Final moment seen here.
I still think we should try to like someday reenact some of our videos or make a new video. Those were always like the highlights for me looking back. We never
Yeah,
talked about that before. For
but
sure.
let's stop talking about it. Let's like actually put together
We got to read a book and then reenact the video or something.
yeah. There's
Video.
I don't know. So our the English one was a compilation. We kind of for some reason I remember like a news story type thing going along with it. Was
Was
it
it?
that?
I'm trying to remember what was it? Was it like King Lear or something like that?
Yeah, we did King Lear in that one spot. But I don't remember how we set those up. If they were just like skits that we did, or because it
It's too bad we don't have the videos because we could have brought everybody back, dressed them in the same costumes, and it would have been awesome.
well, that's I
Like
guess
those family photos people reenact years later. It'd be like that.
yeah. And I really yeah, it's too bad that we lost those. Like I don't even know who would have saved them along the way. Like,
I have some video cassette downstairs, like a VHS tape, but I don't know what's on it. It could be. At one point, I had the music video we made our
yeah.
freshman year in college. It could also be possibly one of the high school videos, or it could be something like totally not like that at all. It could be something completely different. But I also don't have a VCR and haven't had one for about 15 years, so I don't even know how I
I
would
can get
play
a
it.
VCR. My uncle's got several VCRs, so
He still has his VCRs.
yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure he does. I don't think he would have gotten rid of them at all. Just, I mean, he's got tons of material to play on those VCRs if anybody
He
wants
hasn't
to.
digitized his collection.
He ended up buying a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays anyway. So,
But
um, but that would be one hell of a project, digitizing that entire.
his collection, yeah.
that that'd be an amazing library to a very illegal library. Like many FBI warnings at the beginnings of this.
Imagine if like we have a complete meltdown of society and then, so all of civilization collapses and then new civilizations form and they come to like unearth like, his home and they find all these things and then they like, figure out a way to look at the videos. They would think like, wow, he had some really interesting collection of materials.
So much on this one reel.
This same film strip seems to have a Disney movie and some
Would
kind
they
of.
even would they even be able to tell that it's a different movie though at that point? It's like just the plot changes drastically.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be funny.
All right, so let's wrap this.
Yeah, I gotta go cram for my D&D session tomorrow.
Yeah, good luck with that. I definitely
Yeah, I'll
want to
let you know
hear.
how it goes. I think I'll have a much better sense of, obviously, of what I've gotten myself into after having experienced it. That first night. I'll show up like in full costume with all my voices and everything acting it, and they'll just be like, "What is going on?"
You said we role
I definitely
played.
have, I'm not going to wear a costume, but
You should at least bring a silly hat.
yeah.
All right, then. Well, enjoy your Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
To everybody out there, check out milliondollarfist.com and Movement Mentality on YouTube, and watch other episodes of the other podcast. Did I tell you we have 1,000 subscribers now?
Wow.
1,020 actually. So we're almost at monetization levels. Like we had to hit 1,000 subscribers. That's checked
Yep.
off. Now we have to have. We're like halfway to 4,000 hours viewed, or something like that.
Yep.
So to the people out there, if you want to see us start monetizing this stuff, watch more videos.
All my kids at school are always talking about how many people they have. Like, oh, I've got this many followers on whatever. So now I can be like, yeah, I've got over 1,000 subscribers. Haha, check me out.
Yeah, you can rub that right in, and then get them to subscribe and watch your videos.
It's like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up, and I'd be like, I'm already a YouTuber. I've got over 1,000 subscribers.
Check. All right, then. You have a good night.
Very good. All right. See you later.
Bye.